Black Panther is the newest addition to the MCU, is directed by Ryan Coogler and stars Chadwick Boseman, Michael B. Jordan, Forrest Whitaker, Martin Freeman, Andy Serkis and Lupita Nyong'o. Now, I was genuinely excited about this movie, not just because it's yet another MCU film, but also because Black Panther was one of the best things, in my opinion, about Captain America Civil War. So to see him get his own standalone movie, I was really interested to see where they would go with his character and what they would do with it. And on top of that, you have Ryan Coogler in the directing chair, and he's directed 2 really good movies in the past couple years. Those movies being Creed and Fruitvale Station. And those 2 movies are really, really good. So I was interested to see what he would do with a bigger budget and a bigger scale and a bigger cast. And I got to admit, he did a fantastic job with this movie because I found myself enjoying Black Panther way more than I thought I would. One complaint that a lot of MCU movies seem to be getting recently is the fact that they seem to favour humour over the more dramatic and serious moments, and I completely understand why, because I definitely felt that during Thor Ragnarok. As much as I enjoyed that movie, there were a lot of moments where I thought they were really gonna, emphasise the emotion, but instead played it for an easy and cheap laugh. That even though it made me laugh at the time, the more I think about it, I'm just like, you really could have done something else with that scene and made it be more effective. Which is why I'm really glad to say that, for the most part, Black Panther plays it pretty seriously, and it's a nice change of pace. In terms of the structure, it doesn't do anything new in regards to an MCU Marvel movie, but to be honest, I wasn't really expecting anything new. I was just expecting a really good movie, and the fact that it plays it all pretty much seriously with, literally 1 or 2 jokes scattered in there, I thought worked really well, because even though I do enjoy the majority of MCU movies that get released, I will admit that the humour is starting to become a little bit tedious, though funny when you initially see it. Which is why the fact that it's mostly a dramatic and very serious movie that has some really interesting themes on show, I was really happy to see in this movie. And this somewhat serious tone is backed up by some really good performances, especially from the likes of Chadwick Boseman and Michael B. Jordan. I really liked Chadwick Boseman's performance in this movie. I thought it was a better improvement over that in Civil War, because as much as I enjoyed him in that movie, I felt as if we didn't really get much of T'Challa than we did with Black Panther. There was a lot of Black Panther in that movie, I just wanted to see more of the other side of him, and luckily in this movie, especially seeing that it is his own standalone film, you really do see more of his character and get a better grasp of what he is like. He's not cocky like Tony Stark, he's not overly patriotic like Captain America, but instead he is this, very humble and at times very down-to-earth person. But as the movie progresses, if he needs to get down and dirty to get the job done, he will do so. And then there's Michael B. Jordan as the main villain of the movie Killmonger, and I'm just gonna say it, he's probably one of the best MCU villains we've had in a long time. Probably since either Loki or Vulture in Spider-Man Homecoming. He's that good. And what makes his character so memorable and worthwhile is the fact that you can sympathise with him, despite the fact that he does some really terrible and kind of fucked up things. And in my opinion, that is what makes a great movie villain. Despite the fact that they're doing these horrible things, you can easily understand their reasoning behind it, which at times does make you think, who's in the right here? Is it Killmonger or is it Black Panther? And that just shows that you have a great villain on your hands. And the fact that it's backed up by Michael B. Jordan's really menacing performance just makes him a really good character that I really wish I could see again in future MCU movies. You also have others in the movie, like Forrest Whitaker, I thought was really good. Lupita Nyong'o is really, really good in this movie. She gets a lot of kick-ass things to do, and I really enjoyed what her character brought to the character of T'Challa and just the overall, feel of the movie. I just thought her character was really good and for the most part was pretty damn memorable. You also have Martin Freeman and Andy Serkis in there reprising their roles as Everett Ross and Ulysses Claw. I really enjoyed their performances. Martin Freeman is, he's Martin Freeman. I like him as an actor. I just feel like he's kind of the same in everything. But here, he was a little bit different, and I really liked what he did in this movie. I mean, you can't really fault Martin Freeman. He's good at what he does, even if that means he's kind of playing himself in everything. And Andy Serkis was just so enjoyable to watch in this movie. He's kind of over the top in places, but to be honest, his character wouldn't work if it wasn't like that. And I really enjoyed watching him because he really made every moment he was on the screen his own. I also really liked the look of this movie. You can tell there's a lot of CGI on show, and at this point, I'm just okay with it in the MCU movies because that's expected. But the CGI, mixed with some really beautiful shots, looks amazing in this movie. And this is easily one of the more brighter and more colourful looking MCU movies that there has been in a while, and I really liked what they did in terms of like the shot composition and the colour palettes in this movie. I really like what they did there, and I also really like the soundtrack to this movie. It's unlike anything that they've really done in a Marvel movie to date, and I really think it worked. There are some times where I did think it kind of, dipped in the mix, and I really wanted it to kind of burst out a bit more. But for the most part, I really liked the unique and different things they tried in the soundtrack for this movie. There's a lot of drums, there's a lot of tribal kind of things. But that being said, you also have the soundtrack that Kendrick Lamar has made for this movie, which involves a lot of like hip-hop stuff. And I really like that 1-2 combination. Sometimes it's the score, sometimes it's these tracks that he's made. And it's a really nice mixture of the two. However, Black Panther isn't necessarily a perfect movie. It does have a couple of problems. For example, there are a few moments where the CGI was a bit questionable in places. It's nothing too drastic to really take you out of the movie, but once you notice them, it's kind of like, oh yeah, that's not great. The pacing is a bit iffy in places. Again, nothing too drastic to really take you out of the moment, and for the most part I was really invested from start to finish, but there were a few very small moments that felt as if they dragged ever so slightly. And probably my biggest gripe with this movie is actually in regards to one of my favourite aspects of the movie, which is the villain Killmonger. He's not in the movie for a large period of time, and I really don't know why. He's there at the start, he then disappears for like 30 to 50 minutes, and then reappears in the final act of the movie. And even though when he's on screen he owns every minute of it, I just don't get why he completely disappears for that long period of time. I mean, when you really think about it, and think about how the story plays out, yeah, it kind of makes sense. But I just wanted to see that little bit more of him. Maybe give him a bit more of an impact than what we already had in the movie. Apart from those small little nitpicks, I really did enjoy Black Panther, and I really am interested to see where they take these characters in the future, and I'm going to give Black Panther an 8 out of 10. Like I said, I really enjoyed it, and I like the different directions they took in this movie, and it did feel really refreshing, especially for like a Marvel movie, especially at this time that we live in. And yeah, I really did enjoy it. So guys, that was my review of Black Panther. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, then give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Bye.